Welcome. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to relax on stage. I'm Jennifer Roig-Francolí. If we haven't met yet, I am the creator of the Art of Freedom for Musicians and the free Facebook group called the Musicians Mind Body Practice Tribe. If you're not a member yet, please come on over and join us. We have a great time talking about all kinds of things related to music making and related to life as a musician. I'm a professional violinist, have been all my life, and I'm also a certified Alexander technique teacher, specializing in helping musicians of all kinds deal with pain, physical discomfort, muscular tension, stress, overwhelm, and performance anxiety, as well as just becoming a better musician all around and having more fun. Okay, so today's topic on how to relax in front of an audience came from one of my tribe members or someone who has watched my videos here. I'm here every Thursday at 2 p.m. and Mondays at 3 p.m. Mondays are a Q&A session, so if you happen to have your own questions and you want me to answer them, you can come on Mondays or send me a question ahead of time and I'll make sure to answer your questions then. Or I may even make a whole Facebook live post like today on one question. So first of all, hello everybody who's coming on. I would love this post to be interactive. So if you have reactions or anything that you want to add, now is your chance to do it. And then we can have more of an interaction rather than me just gabbing away. But let me just dive in and give you my top answer to this question right away because it's such an important question. How do you relax when you're on stage and you're in front of an audience? Well, the key to being able to relax in front of an audience is to be able to relax when you're not in front of an audience. That's where you've got to start. Now, when I teach my students, and I teach online, by the way, with group classes and private coaching, but when I teach my students, the first thing that I want them to do is to start becoming an investigator, like a detective who's studying themselves, right? So you want to get to know your habits. You want to get to know yourself. You want to know what happens to you when you're in front of people in general. Okay, so very often people who are nervous in front of an audience on stage also get nervous in front of people in different everyday situations. So really get to know what's happening to you, for instance, when you are in conversation with a stranger that you just met at the supermarket, or if you need to go ask someone for directions, or if you have to get on the phone and make a difficult phone call with somebody you don't know, or maybe you have a job and you need to go talk to a supervisor about a problem, or maybe you are in a personal relationship with someone or a family member that's not going very well. What happens to you when you want to, here's the key, when you want to express yourself, right? So we're talking about getting nervous on stage in front of an audience when we're in musical performance, but really interacting with another human being is always a kind of a performance because you're wanting to share something of yourself with the outside. And because it's living human people on the other side, you're going to affect them one way or another. It's just that's how human relationships work. So knowing that you're by definition going to affect your audience, the person that you're in communication with, whether it's over coffee at a coffee shop with a friend or in front of 1,000 people in a concert hall, the principle is the same. You are wanting to share something meaningful of yourself from your heart, ideally from your whole self, because that's what makes great art, when you bring your whole self and you're wholly present. completely present and authentic and honest, and you're speaking your truth, whether you're speaking through words, in person or online, or in front of an audience, or whether you're speaking through music, it's the same thing. What happens to you when there's something that's important to you that you want to express to the outside? So that's where I would have you start if you really, really, really want to get to the root of why you might feel uncomfortable on stage in front of an audience when you're making music. It's a much bigger issue, right? It's about being human and exposing your humanity, flaws and all, because none of us is perfect. What happens when you share something that means a lot to you and you screw up in your presentation? Maybe it's a conversation when you're speaking with somebody that actually you feel like there are going to be consequences. Maybe it's a job interview. What happens if you mess up in the interview and you're stuttering all over the place, or you're quoting things inaccurately, or you don't have the background that they want, or things aren't going the way you want? And what happens when your interlocutor, the person who's on the other side, when you see that they're reacting, how does that affect you? It's always a flow. So when I'm on stage, I have practiced, right, for a lifetime, for years, for many years, very consciously, to become more and more aware of wanting to be myself and feeling free to share the truth that I'm experiencing, the truth of who I am and how I think, to be able to share my opinions freely and fearlessly and courageously. And the key is to not care so much about how it's received by the other person. And that's hard because we're usually conditioned from babyhood to elicit positive responses from people. And if you're a performer, you're not going to want your audience to hate what you're playing, right? You want your audience to appreciate you and like you and enjoy the music you're making, right? But if you care too much about what the audience thinks, then you're going to hold back, possibly. You're going to maybe protect some of the most intimate parts of your heart, some of the most personal ways that you like to make music. You might not kind of want to share that completely because of fear of rejection. So to make great music, you need to overcome your fear of rejection. Because the truth is, nobody is going to like everything that you do all the time, right? It's not possible. There is no artist out there. There never has been one that pleased everybody all the time. It just is not possible. Okay? It's funny, just in my Alexander Musicians group class online the other day, one of my students commented on how Hilary Hahn received a negative review from a critic who complained that her rhythm wasn't metronomic, it was like too free and flexible and all over the place, and it wasn't good rhythm. Okay, so you can't play for the critics. I mean, come on, Hilary Hahn is a fantastic violinist, and she plays with expressiveness, and she plays authentically. She shares what's in her heart. We all have aspects of not sharing fully and completely, because there are always parts of us that we're protecting, and there's always going to be a little more tension than necessary. And I don't care who you are. You could be Heifetz or Paganini or Hilary Hahn. There's always going to be a little or a lot more tension than is necessary. And tension is always related to a bit of fear and holding back, right? So don't try to be perfect. Don't try to be tension-free. Don't try to express everything, because it's just not going to happen that way. the way to work on it is actually indirect. We talk a lot about indirect procedures in the Alexander world. You want to work on nervousness in front of an audience in an indirect way, off stage, long before you even get on stage. Okay, so there are specific things that I teach my students to do. We have Primal Alexander etudes. We have Art of Freedom etudes. We have etudes practice that we do twice a day for just a couple minutes, a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the evening, or as a warm-up. And I'm going to share one of them with you in just a moment. But it's so important to have specific ways to combat performance anxiety that you touch on every day outside of the triggering situation. Okay? And as I said, recognize that it's a deeper issue than you might think and more all-encompassing. And nervousness in front, it's really about nervousness to share what's meaningful with others from the heart, and facing the possibility that the person you're sharing it with may reject you, may not like it, may criticize it, you know, and to be okay with other people criticizing what we do because we know it's real. If I'm expressing myself with conscious awareness that's connected to my being from the heart, and I know it, then two things can happen. I'm making myself very vulnerable. So if someone slams me afterwards and criticizes me up and down for how awful it was, part of me is going to be hurt, right? It's kind of inevitable. But I can learn how to not take things personally with practice. And if I know deeply that what I was sharing was real and true, and from my whole self, as much as I was humanly capable of doing in that moment, then I don't care what anybody thinks, right? I can be hurt for a while because that's natural, but I can overcome that hurt more and more and more quickly and use that experience to make myself even stronger and even braver and more courageous to take the risks of exposing how I really feel through my words, like I am right now, or through my violin playing, or when I get on the phone to talk to somebody who, well, this happened recently actually, someone who almost burned my house down, literally, because my washing machine was supposedly fixed by this person and then it wasn't, and I almost had a serious fire. When I talked to that person on the phone, I was pretty upset and I was expressing that. And I don't like to make people upset, but there are some times where that's the truth and it came out and I was angry, and I don't regret that because it was natural. Now, I didn't lose my awareness, my self-control. I expressed anger, but it was contained and it was clear. And I also knew when to stop and how to measure it so that it wasn't wounding the other person, but it was waking them up to a reality. That's what we're doing as artists. We are waking ourselves up to our reality and we're sharing it. But it's scary. It's scary, and you need to practice facing the fear and doing it anyway. That's a great book, by the way. If you haven't read that, I highly recommend it. I forget who the author is, but it's called Face the Fear or Feel the Fear. It's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Great book. Okay, so, hello, Monty. Thank you. I appreciate your comment there. It's nice to have you here. And Angel is here. Please, if you're here, just say hello so that I know you're here. If you're watching the replay, I also like to know who is here. Please don't hesitate to, share how you're feeling about any of this. I'd love to hear from you. And if you want to have more of a conversation, we can also move it over to the Musicians Mind Body Practice Tribe. This is pretty much what I've got. I mean, of course, I could talk about performance anxiety for the rest of my life. In fact, I do, because that's what I teach about. But for today, I think that's pretty much what I wanted to focus on. And again, the point that I wanted to make, the number one thing I wanted to get across today is that nervousness on stage in front of an audience is about, it's about that fear of rejection when you're expressing something meaningful, and art is about sharing meaning, depth of meaning from the heart. So it's a challenge, and you've got to work on it far in advance of your performance, and you work on it indirectly by observing yourself anytime that you're communicating with another person or people, because it's the same thing, just on a grander scale when you're on stage. It's the same thing when you pick up the phone to have a challenging conversation where you need to speak your truth. It's the same thing. So you get to work on it every day. Whenever you have a contact with another human being, you get to work on this issue. The more you pay attention to it, the more you're going to find that it's possible to play with ease and fearlessly on stage. Even if you still get nervous, you're going to be able to still have fun and overcome it. But the other thing I wanted to say is that you really do need tools. You need specific tools beyond, I mean, what I said today may be enough for some, but for most people, you need a practice. You need specific tools to take care of your mindset. You really do. And you need to be focusing on it every single day with purpose and clarity. Right? You need to know what you're doing so that you can fix this issue if you really want to get to the root at it. So, oh, and Monty gave me the author, Susan Jeffers. That's right. I remember that. And hello, Gabrielle. Hey, it's so nice to have you back. It's great. Okay, before I leave, I do want to make sure everybody here does have the link to join my practice tribe, if you're not a member yet. But the other thing that I want to share that I mentioned, I have one tool, one etude that I want everybody here to check out. It's free. You know, this is a 5-day challenge that I have. You can sign up for it online and do it all on your own. You'll get automated emails from me. I want you to learn what's called the cycle. It's the absolutely best warm-up that I know, and the best thing to do backstage as you're waiting to go on to help you get centered and integrated in yourself, to calm your nervous system a little bit and to really become present to your experience so that you can share your experience with ease on stage. The cycle is the first etude I teach all of my students, and we do it in the practice tribe. It's developed by Mio Morales. It's a primal Alexander etude that takes 2 minutes, but it's super powerful. I do it multiple times every day. And I have my students, it's required of all of my students to do the cycle twice a day. If you want to know about how you could become one of my students, I have online group classes called Alexander Musicians. Just message me or email me about that. And I also have a 6-month private coaching program for people who really want to have a goal and really people who want it, people who really want to progress and get individualized help that is going to help fast track your success. That's the private coaching. But here is the best warm-up challenge. It's a 5-day free challenge to learn the cycle and make it part of your routine. Do it. I dare you. 100% of the people who I've done this with, who've tried it, which is hundreds at this point, have had success with this. Not a single person that I know that has tried this methodically and stuck with it for the 5 days. Not a single person has had any kind of negative result, and 100% have had positive results. So you can't go wrong by learning this. And I'm going to leave you with one more link. This is a link to the Musician's Mindset Power Toolkit. Since we're talking about mindset and nervousness and performance anxiety, the Mindset Power Toolkit is a really, really powerful place to start. You're going to learn the cycle in this, but also go beyond the cycle to develop a daily practice that includes 5 steps. That's your daily power practice for your mindset. So I highly recommend that. I encourage you to check it out. Go to the page and find the details, and then get in touch with me if you want to know more. All right? So thank you, everybody, so much for being here. Oh, I see. I had to scroll to see. Here's a question from Mia. Hello, Mia. Mia Strayer says, hey, how are you? I'm great, thank you. I'm so happy. I'm outside on my porch, and it's perfect weather. I'm so happy when I'm outside. And then she says, I seem to only get nervous in front of either of my harp teachers. I see. Okay, yes. Well, it makes sense. A lot of people get nervous in front of people who are in authority, like a teacher, or people who intimidate them, maybe critics or conductors or teachers, anybody who you perceive as above you somehow. It's a very common reaction to get a little nervous. Like you're afraid, basically you're afraid of what they're going to think of you. And that's where you need to do your work, to not care so much. Just do your work and don't care so much what other people think. Mia also says, I don't really get nervous on stage, just mainly in front of my teachers. Is that normal? Yes, it is totally normal. But it's something that is going to keep you from really enjoying your music making and your learning. So I would suggest that you take to heart what I've said in this video and come to the practice tribe and chat with other tribe members about their experiences. And we have a lot of people in the Mind Body Practice tribe who've had lots of experience with performance anxiety. So there's a lot of wisdom in there that you can tap into. So I would suggest that you do that, Mia. And I've also mentioned to you before about some of the things I have to offer. So start with the tribe and put your questions in there and see what people have to say to help you. Okay? Thanks for being here, Mia. Let's see, is there anything else popping up here? Angel says the cycle is a great tool. Yes. Yeah, Angel, if you want to share any, just a couple words more about that here. What makes it great for you? How does it feel when you're doing the cycle? In fact, this is a question for anybody out here who's with me right now who has done the warm-up challenge or has been practicing the cycle regularly. It's always really useful for people who are on live to hear from people who've been doing it for a while so that they can encourage them, to give it a try. So I'd love to see if anybody else has anything to add to that. Okay, I'm just scrolling. All right, I'm not seeing anything popping up, but there is always a delay, so I'm going to wait just a moment more. I'm seeing some familiar pictures here, and I think that's Gabrielle. Hello, Gabrielle. It's great to have you here. And I'm not recognizing the others, so please just say hi so that I know you're here if I haven't mentioned you yet. I think Kay is here. No, that's not Kay's picture. Okay, anyway, I have pretty much said what I want to say. I hope this was useful for everybody. And I am here every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Send me your questions in advance. I will answer them. Either I'll do a whole session on a Thursday on one topic, or I will put together lots of questions that come to me on Mondays at 3 p.m. Eastern. Both sessions are from this page and shared also into the Musician's Mind Body Practice tribe. Okay, thanks for being here, and thanks for watching the replay if you couldn't be with me live, and happy practicing. Work on observing yourself and learn the cycle. Those are your takeaways for today, and then let me know how it goes, okay? Oh, now the comments are popping up. Okay, Angel says, the cycle helps me get centered and opens me up to the flow of ease. Yes, me too. And Gabrielle says it's a great tool for relaxing. It's a really good sleep aid too, if anybody has insomnia. I have had a lot of people tell me that they wake up in the middle of the night and can't sleep, and they do the cycle and they're out. So if you have that problem, it's another nice tool for it. But usually I recommend that people do it when they're awake, because then they get the added benefit of being aware that it's helpful. So Okay, thanks everybody. Happy practicing. I'll see you next time, and lots of love. Bye-bye. Oops. Where's that button? Okay, bye.